So a lot of people have been emailing me, DMing me, whatever the lingo is, asking me what are my thoughts on Shawn Ray's interview at Generation Iron pertaining to the comeback of Kevin Levrone. And this has been going on for days. Saturday, I made a few videos on my phone. Sunday, the same. I erased them. I didn't, put them up because I figured, honestly, I should mind my own business. This really doesn't concern me. Shawn Ray is a Hall of Famer. Kevin Levrone is a Hall of Famer, or should be a Hall of Famer by now. And it's really none of my business. But people want to know what I have to say. I'm told that I'm a little controversial, so I'm going to go ahead and say what I have to say. I thought the interview was a little uncalled for. I thought it was unfair to Kevin. I thought some of the comparisons that Shawn drew, I agree with. For example, he did say that, Kevin Levrone's comeback could not be compared to that of Lou Ferrigno in the 1990s. I agree with that. He said that Lou Ferrigno was really famous not because of bodybuilding, but because of the movies, Pumping Iron, Incredible Hulk, the Conan movies. I agree with that. And Kevin Levrone, on the other hand, is popular because he won over 20 pro titles. I totally agree with that. Then he talked about Don Youngblood. Don Youngblood, of course, as you all know, beat Vince Taylor for one of those Masters Mr. Olympias. It was a total shock when that happened. In fact, I don't even believe that Vince Taylor totally grasped the concept. And then Don Youngblood wanted to do the Open Mr. Olympia. Now, Shawn says that everybody discouraged him from doing that, including probably himself. Don did it anyways. Don Youngblood, of course, as you all know, passed away. May he rest in peace. All respect to Don Youngblood, but he came in dead last at the Olympia. I don't think that is fair to Kevin Levrone. I understand everybody discouraged Don Youngblood, a master back then of doing the Open Olympia. No disrespect to Don Youngblood or to Vince Taylor, but 10, 15 years ago, most of the Masters competitors were a bunch of scrubs. Nowadays, Masters competitors, they hang in the Open and they win Open shows. You know what I mean? Back in those days, even up until about 5, 6, 7 years ago, you had Darren Charles, who was winning everything in the Masters level, but he really wasn't coming up against much. Now, Masters level is completely like night and day. Very, very deep lineups. Now, but to compare Don Youngblood going from that level of Masters bodybuilding back then to Kevin Levrone being discouraged by the likes of Shawn Ray for wanting to make a comeback after 12 years is not accurate. I mean, Kevin Levrone has been the best in the world. I mean, runner-up. He's won Arnold Classic titles, graced the covers of countless magazines, has fans all around. It's not a fair comparison, so I don't agree with Shawn on that one. Then he also talks about, I guess, his first Mr. Olympia or so, where he placed dead last, Shawn Ray here, and talks about how it's very lonely when you don't get first call-outs or second call-outs and you're just left standing on the stage. That's not going to happen to Kevin Levrone. I mean, come on. Again, this is where I think Shawn crosses the line. And then he says that, instead of jumping into the Mr. Olympia, Kevin Levrone should have gone to China and competed against quote-unquote lower caliber athletes. Now, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, that sounds like mighty, mighty bigoted. You know what I mean? To say that Chinese athletes are on a lower caliber. Even if they were, you can't talk like that. I mean, you work for muscular development, right? I mean, you are a Hall of Fame bodybuilder, right? I mean, you're supposed to be like an ambassador to the world. How can you say that an entire continent, I guess China being a country, but you're probably talking about Asia as a continent as well. How can you, in China, the most populated country in the world, how can you say that they are lower caliber? Like, you make them sound like I don't know. When I first heard it, I thought you were like implying they were like subhumans or something. I mean, how can you talk like that? I don't understand. I did see Shawn Ray and Skullcap at the IFBB Pittsburgh Pro, I should say, and I wasn't aware that he was trying to get an interview with Kevin Levrone, who apparently, according to Shawn, dodged him and I guess didn't want to interview with him. But I guess if Shawn Ray holds these views about Kevin, and he also said that in addition to the fact he didn't think he'd get first or second call-outs, he said that he didn't think that he would get an honorable 6th place, and it's just, to me, honestly, if he thinks that Kevin Levrone is not going to get second or third call-outs or second call-outs, he doesn't think he's going to get 6th place. If he thinks that he had to go compete against what he considers to be quote-unquote lower caliber athletes, then he doesn't have a lot of faith in Kevin Levrone. And I think that runs a little bit deeper than simply trying to advise someone from doing or not doing a show. I think what Kevin Levrone is doing is probably rattling the cages of a lot of people like Shawn Ray. People that, we all know Shawn Ray was as they say, that one of the most photographed bodybuilders of all time. You know what I mean? Now he's working for MD, and he's got Skullcap following him around backstage, and occasionally he might get on the radio, which is really not the radio, it's a bodybuilding podcast, but whatever. But the reality of the matter is that, you know, if Kevin Levrone were to get on stage and get top 3 or win the damn thing, you know, he's going to be on top of the world, and, you know, Shawn Ray's going to be backstage, you know, doing interviews with, you know, random people, and, you know, having some, you know, John Romano, you know, look-alike, whatever, like, following him around. So the bottom line is that, you know, maybe there's a little bit of sour grapes. Maybe, you know, Shawn's got a little bit of haterade in his cup, and he's got to pour it out, you know, because the reality of the matter is that Kevin Levrone coming back is great for bodybuilding. Kevin Levrone coming back, I mean, you know, not only do I think that he could get top 6, top 3, he could win the whole show. If Kevin Levrone comes in the way that bodybuilders came in the late 1990s and early 2000s with that, you know, conditioning and that balance and that symmetry going on, I mean, it's lights out. I don't think anybody can beat Phil Heath right now. I mean, there's bodybuilders, if you go back in time, maybe I think like a Jay Cutler 2009 could beat Phil Heath today. But, I mean, that Jay Cutler is the only person right now who I think realistically could do it. And Jay Cutler's not going to come back, I don't think. You know what I mean? Some people say, oh, Dorian or Lee Haney or Frank Zane. That was a long time ago. Jay Cutler is still within, you know, range. You know what I mean? And he's not formally retired. He's semi-retired. But Jay's not going to come back that I know of. You know what I mean? We've got Dexter Jackson, Mr. Olympia, 5-time Arnold Classic. You know, he's definitely going to push Phil. We're not going to have Dennis the Big Bad Wolf. You know what I mean? We're not going to have Kai that I know of. I mean, you know, people are talking about, is he going to re-sign? Is he going to re-sign? He didn't sign last year. So, and there's no indication he's going to sign this year. So if Kevin comes back, that's going to be great for bodybuilding. It's going to be great for the Mr. Olympia. Mr. Olympia doesn't depend on any one bodybuilder, not even the champion himself. But to have Phil Heath, to have Dexter up there, to have Flexitron up there, and Flexitron actually is a throwback, as is Dexter, to the 1990s and early 2000s. So to have those guys up there with a Kevin Levrone that's just off the chain, back in action, is great. Why Shawn Ray doesn't believe that Kevin Levrone at 100% wouldn't even get top 6, it starts to really read a little bit like haterism to me. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he's got a little haterism in his game. Maybe he doesn't like the fact that Kevin's doing what maybe he'd like to do and doesn't have the stones to do. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think Shawn Ray's a phenomenal bodybuilder, but I don't understand why he's knocking Kevin to the extent that he is. You know what I mean? And it's not a question of size. Even if it was a question of size, Kevin Levrone has no issue putting on size. But that's not what Kevin is saying. What I believe Kevin is saying is he wants to take it back to when people actually did a prep, where they ate fish for 8, 9, 10 weeks straight. You know what I mean? Where they came in completely ripped to the bone and vascular. And back to when people knew how to pose. I mean, this is a guy who's extremely dangerous. For Shawn Ray to make a Don Youngblood comparison, or to make a comparison to the Olympia where he placed dead last, is just not, it's not cool. It's not cool, it's not realistic, and quite frankly, it reeks of haterism, you know what I mean? And so, you know, that's where I stand on the matter. I don't even like Kevin Levrone that much. You know, I mean, I've been a fan of his. I wouldn't say I'm not a follower of anyone except for Christ, and I don't mean to sound like a Bible thumper, but I've been a fan of Kevin's for about 20, 25 years. But these last couple of years, I've been shooting him messages on Facebook. He reads them, doesn't reply, and it kind of got under my skin a little bit. I made a video about 6 months ago. I said he doesn't know how to treat his fans. Of course he knows how to treat his fans. He just doesn't know how to treat me, but that's fine, whatever. And I was at the IFB Pittsburgh Pro, and I was backstage, and many times we were about a foot away from each other, and I was thinking about saying, hey, Kevin, you know, good speech, you know, it was really heartfelt, I really respect you for saying those things, but I didn't want to come off as disingenuous, and it is what it is. I'm doing this. So if he sees this, I'm going to tag him. If he sees this, great. You know, but aside from, you know, personality, aside from whatever, he's a phenomenal athlete. And if he takes his prep 110% seriously, I mean, he's going to do excellent. So, you know, Shawn, I don't know what your deal is, but I totally, about 95% disagree with you.